The banana in your kitchen is dying, and I don't mean that as a metaphor. Almost every banana you've ever eaten is a clone, a genetically identical copy of billions of others, and right now, there's a fungus moving through the soil that can wipe out all of them for exactly that reason. What almost nobody realizes is that this has already happened once before. The banana your grandparents ate is nearly gone, and the story of how we got here runs through stolen land, a massacre, and a coup. But to understand how a single fungus can threaten every banana on Earth, and how a piece of fruit ended up at the center of a massacre and a coup, you have to start with something strange about the banana itself. The banana you eat has no seeds. Slice one open and you'll see tiny brown specks running down the middle. Those are the ghosts of seeds, leftovers from a plant that can no longer reproduce on its own. Wild bananas are nothing like this. They're packed with hard black seeds the size of peppercorns, more seed than fruit, almost inedible. The sweet, soft, seedless banana you know is a kind of genetic accident, and it can only be copied, never grown from seed. So that's exactly what we do. Every commercial banana is a clone, grown from a cutting of another plant, which was grown from a cutting of another. The banana ripening on a kitchen counter in Rotterdam is, genetically, almost the same individual as one hanging on a farm in Ecuador. Billions of identical twins spread across the entire planet. It sounds elegant. It's also the single greatest weakness this fruit has, because if a disease can kill one of them, it can kill all of them. For the first half of the 20th century, the clone the world chose had a name. The Gros Michel, Big Mike. By most accounts, it was a better banana than the one we eat now. Sweeter, creamier, and with a thicker skin that survived long ocean voyages without bruising. It shipped beautifully, and it tasted like dessert. When chemists first tried to bottle banana flavor in a lab, the Gros Michel is the banana they were chasing. So that artificial flavor everyone says tastes fake, it isn't really fake, it's a memory. It's what bananas tasted like before the one in your hand took over. But to put the Gros Michel on tables across America and Europe, somebody had to grow it on an enormous scale. And the company that figured out how would become one of the most powerful and most feared corporations of its century. That company was the United Fruit Company. By the early 1900s, it owned plantations, railways, ports, telegraph lines, and entire fleets of refrigerated ships across Central America. In some countries, it controlled more usable farmland than anyone else, and it paid almost nothing for it. Whole nations were quietly reorganized around growing fruit for export to the north. The American writer O. Henry had a phrase for these places: economies built to serve a single crop and a single foreign company. He called them banana republics. And to keep Americans buying, United Fruit hired a man named Edward Bernays, the so-called father of public relations and a nephew of Sigmund Freud. Bernays helped turn the banana from an exotic novelty into the most ordinary breakfast food in the country. Doctors recommended them. Cartoons sang about them. The fruit became so normal that people stopped asking where it came from, or what it cost the people who grew it. Think about that for a second. The blandest item in your fruit bowl was, for decades, one of the most carefully engineered marketing campaigns on Earth. But this wasn't just about fruit anymore. By 1928, the workers growing all that fruit had had enough. In the town of Cienega, Colombia, thousands of United Fruit laborers went on strike. They wanted basic things: written contracts, a 6-day week, to be paid in actual money instead of company credit that only worked at company stores. The Colombian government, terrified of angering the company and the United States behind it, sent in the army. Soldiers surrounded a crowd of strikers gathered in the town square and opened fire. How many people died that day is still argued about. Official accounts said a handful. Others put it in the hundreds, even close to 2,000. The bodies, some witnesses claimed, were loaded onto trains and dumped into the sea. We may never know the real number. The event was buried so thoroughly that for years many Colombians weren't sure it had happened at all. It took a novelist, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, to sear it back into memory, retelling the massacre in 100 Years of Solitude. You'd think a moment like that would be the darkest chapter in this story. It wasn't. Move forward to Guatemala, 1954. The country had elected a president named Jacobo Arbenz, and he had an idea that terrified United Fruit: land reform. Guatemala's farmland was locked up in a few hands, and a huge share of it sat completely unused, owned by the company and left deliberately empty. Arbenz proposed buying back the unused land and handing it to peasant farmers. He even offered to pay the company, based on the low value United Fruit itself had declared for tax purposes. The company was furious, so it went to Washington. United Fruit had deep ties inside the US government, and it pulled every thread, while Edward Bernays ran a press campaign painting Arbenz as a communist threat in America's backyard. In 1954, the CIA backed a coup that removed him from power. What followed wasn't a clean ending. It was the start of nearly 4 decades of civil war in Guatemala, with hundreds of thousands of people killed, all of it tangled, at the root, with the business of selling fruit. You'd think someone would have said something at the time. Almost nobody did. If you're liking this video so far, please hit subscribe. By the 1950s, while all of this was unfolding above ground, something quieter was happening below it. In the soil of plantation after plantation, the Gros Michel was dying. The killer was a fungus, a strain of what's called Panama disease. It crept in through the roots, choked off the plant's water supply from the inside, and left whole fields wilted and brown. And because every Gros Michel was a clone, a near-identical copy of the next, the fungus tore through them with almost no resistance. No spray stopped it. Once it was in the soil, it stayed for decades, so plantations were simply abandoned. By around 1960, the Gros Michel was finished as a commercial crop. The banana that built the empires, the one your candy still tastes like, was effectively gone. The industry only survived because it found a substitute, a blander, softer variety that happened to resist the fungus. Its name was the Cavendish, and almost overnight it became the banana the entire world would eat, the one in your kitchen right now. That switch came with its own hidden cost. To protect the new crop, plantations leaned hard on chemicals, including a pesticide called DBCP. Years later, thousands of plantation workers who had handled it discovered they'd been left sterile. The lawsuits dragged on for decades. At the time, it looked like just another cost of doing business. It wasn't, but the very thing that once saved the banana was already circling back for it. For about 60 years, the Cavendish seemed safe. Then, in the 1990s, growers in Southeast Asia started seeing the same old symptoms: wilting leaves, browning stems, dying fields. It was Panama disease again, but a new strain, one the Cavendish could not resist. Scientists call it Tropical Race 4, and here's the version most people haven't heard. It isn't some distant future threat, it's already moving. Since 2018, the number of countries hit by it has climbed from 16 to 23. It has spread across Asia, into Australia, the Middle East, and Africa. In 2019, it was confirmed in Colombia. In 2021, Peru. By 2023, Venezuela. It has now reached the heart of the region that grows most of the world's export bananas, a roughly $20 billion industry. And because the Cavendish is, once again, a planet-wide army of identical clones, it sits in the exact same trap that destroyed the Gros Michel. We've seen this movie before. We just gave the banana a new name and pressed play again. So can the banana be saved this time? Maybe. The most promising answer so far comes out of Australia, where researchers spent more than 20 years building a Cavendish that can fight back. They took a resistance gene from a wild banana, the same kind full of hard, inedible seeds that nobody eats, and switched it on inside the Cavendish. In 2024, that banana, called QCAV4, became the first genetically modified banana in the world approved for people to grow and eat. It's a strange kind of rescue. To save the fruit we engineered to have no seeds, scientists had to reach back into the wild, seed-filled banana we left behind. Whether shoppers will accept a modified banana, and whether it arrives before the disease does, is still an open question. So look again at the banana in your kitchen. It's the survivor of one extinction, and it's standing directly in the path of the next. Even that fake banana flavor in the candy, the one everyone swears tastes wrong, isn't wrong at all. It's a fossil, a faint recording of a fruit that was farmed into existence, marketed onto our breakfast tables, defended with a massacre and a coup, and then killed by an invisible thing in the dirt. So the next time you taste that artificial banana and decide it tastes nothing like the real thing, remember this. For most of the people who fought and died over this fruit, that flavor was the real thing. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more weird food history.